Do you know what these pieces of art have in common? All were designed by award-winning Central students. Unique functional art next on Arts and Humanities are Central.
Welcome to Arts and Humanities are Central. I'm Margie Morgan, Dean of the College of Arts and Humanities at Central Washington University, and your host for this exploration of the important role that the arts and humanities play in our everyday lives. My guests today are three jewelry and metalsmithing students working with Professor Keith Lewis. All three of them will graduate in the next few months, is that correct?
Yes.
Alex Chaney, who's a graduate student working on a Master of Fine Arts degree, is that it? MFA for short. Genne Laakso, also finishing up an MFA degree. And Joe Churchman, senior undergraduate student, who's finishing up a Bachelor of Fine Arts or a BFA degree. Right? Congratulations to all of you and welcome to Arts and Humanities are Central. I thought we'd start by having each of you tell us where you're from and why you came to Central. And maybe Alex, will start with you.
Sure. I came from Oregon.
Where in Oregon?
Silverton, Oregon was my hometown. I graduated from Northern Arizona University for my undergraduate degree, and then decided to come to Central.
And what made you choose Central?
Well, I knew of Keith's renown from seeing an article about him in Metalsmith magazine, and I visited campus, and I loved the campus, and Keith was very welcoming. And then I guess the clincher was the assistantship that I received.
Ah, yes, money is good. Right?
A great experience to be able to teach also.
Excellent. Well, we're glad you're here. Genne, where are you from and why did you come to Central?
I'm from Kent, Ohio. And
that's a long way away.
Yes, far away. I graduated at Kent State University where I got my BFA. And I was fortunate enough to meet Keith. He came and gave a lecture on his work, brought in by my professor and an art history professor, and him and I clicked, and I knew about the department, and so I decided to come study under him because he's full of knowledge and he's just a great guy in general, very supportive.
Good. Great. Joe?
I'm originally from Southwest Washington, near Longview area, tiny town. The reason I came to Central was I transferred in, having been a Running Start student, and one of my friends was attending here, and in visiting him, I got to experience the campus and the people here, and I really just got to love the atmosphere. I didn't even know I was going to be an art student before I came, so It was a pleasant surprise.
And how did you decide to be an art student?
Well, in the Running Start experience, I took some photography classes, and so when my first term here, I enrolled in another photography class and realized how much I loved it, how much I loved the creation process, and so I enrolled as a photography student. And through that exploration, the curriculum dictated that you needed to explore all the different mediums, and through that I experienced Keith Lewis as a professor, metalsmithing as a practice, and just absolutely fell in love with object making, and that's how I ended up being a metalsmith.
Great, thanks. Now, all of your work is getting quite a lot of attention way far beyond Central, if I understand things correctly. All three of you have, in the last year or so, been in international juried shows. Is that correct?
Yes.
I wonder, Joe, could you tell us about that? What shows have you been in, and what works have been on display in these international shows?
The first show that I was accepted into is called Decorative Resurgence, and it was hosted by Rowan University in Glassboro, New Jersey. The call was for contemporary works of jewelry and metalsmithing that were made with a modern spin, using either new technology or new designs. And so an Elizabethan ruff that I made out of neoprene foam was accepted into that exhibition. Another exhibition is called Neoteric Matter, which focused on either new materials or new processes or both. Relatively new, last 15 years or so. And so a couple of bracelets that I created out of the same neoprene material were accepted into that show. And photos of the same body of work were accepted into a national student show for the Society of North American Goldsmiths Conference.
Now, is it common for an undergraduate student to be accepted into an international jury show like this?
The short answer is no. Most often undergraduate students don't feel very positive about their work. They still feel like they're honing skills and things like that, so they're hesitant to even enter shows, let alone be accepted into it. There's a lot of times a very distinct difference between an undergraduate's work and an established artist or a graduate student's work. And so it's a little unlikely for an undergraduate student to be featured as well as I have, and I'm very fortunate for that opportunity.
Yeah, well, congratulations. Well, I
Thank
think
you.
we'll see why in just a minute when we actually look at
Yes, we
your
will.
work. Janae, what about you? What international shows have you been in?
Recently, I've been exhibiting in some shows in Detroit, been working with some performance artists, and also in some other fine art and more of a general medium. And Alex and I were also exhibited in Los Angeles in an international fiber and metalsmithing jewelry exhibition.
Wow. And is the necklace around your neck, what was in
Yes,
that?
this was the one that was exhibited in Los Angeles.
Great. Okay. And Alex?
Yeah, I had the necklace that I'm wearing in that show as well. It was called Wearable Expressions.
Uh-huh.
And then here locally at the Larson Gallery, I had 3 pieces there recently.
Now, you're being very modest. Did you not win an award in Los Angeles at the international show?
Yes, this piece that I'm wearing won first place for the jewelry category. So.
Wow, congratulations. And as I recall, you won Best in Show at the Central Washington Regional Artists Exhibition at the Larson Gallery.
Yes.
And you had 4 necklaces there, this one that you're wearing, and this one on the table, and 2 others, as I recall. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well, this is very exciting. Thanks again for being with us. Let's now look at some of this fantastic jewelry that we've got here. Alex, let's start with what you're wearing. I have to look here at my notes to remember the name. This is your award-winning piece, Aprilophilia, did I get that?
Aprilophobia.
Aprilophobia, that's right, of course. Aprilophobia, yeah, I got the
Fear of syringes.
fear, not love. Right, okay. I love the necklace, so that's why I think I got confused. So could you tell us about this? What is the material? What is it made?
So these are syringe needles used for vaccinating livestock. They're rather large, and then it's connected with a fishing line, and then a spool knit fishing line around a plastic hose, and then clasped in the back with the syringe plunger tips. So
now this is incredibly elegant. I would never have thought of livestock syringes as, being able to affect this kind of elegance. I mean, how did you encounter these syringes? I mean, how did this happen?
Interesting story. I was home visiting my parents, and my mom was gathering these needles. She was going to dispose of them. She'd use them to vaccinate her cows, so she was going to throw them away, essentially. And I said, "Wait, no, you can't do that. I want to make a necklace out of it." And she goes, "Okay."
So this is recycling. This is a form of recycling.
You
From
could say that.
vaccinations to jewelry. Yes, this is. There's an essay there.
Yeah, a sterilization process in the
middle.
In the middle.
In the middle. Yeah. So, what about? Is there some message or theme going on here? I mean, I obviously messed up the message here with the wrong word. So, what are you trying to convey with this necklace?
Well, I'm trying to take that repulsion, that fear that I'm gathering that lots of people have about needles, and trying to, mix attraction with repulsion in a wearable object.
This is Fumophobia.
Fumophobia. Yes,
Fumophobia.
yes.
Okay, tell us about this.
Yeah, it's a kind of a smelly necklace when you're wearing it. There's some used cigarette butts and then some full ones at the top here. So yeah, I guess similarly, I'm picking an object that it's not everybody maybe, or that this is particularly repulsive to me, I guess, personally. And
The cigarettes.
Yes. So.
But are you also attracted somehow to the design? So there's repulsion and attraction, these contradictory things that are existing simultaneously within yourself. Is that
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to incorporate the Elizabethan rough form, and then using this gold as, that's a very valuable, sort of attractive material with cigarette butts.
cigarette butts? So you're sort of working out your own personal tensions and dilemmas in your jewelry?
Yeah, this is actually kind of based on never wanting to date somebody who smokes.
I see.
So.
Well, Genne, let's hear about your work. The one around your neck, is that the one you were in the international?
Yes.
Was in the international show. And
Yes.
What does it have a title? And
Yes, the title is Vegas, and it's made from a leather belt and 3 silver hollow boxes, and the dots in the center are upholstery tacks.
Huh.
So I also work, just like Alex, with found objects. The found objects, intrigues both of us very much to kind of, give a new identity to the object.
By found objects, you mean objects that wouldn't normally be used in
Yes.
jewelry, that we don't associate with
Yes.
jewelry at all, and you transform them into something attractive.
Heightening the value of that object.
Is there a particular kind of theme behind, or message in your mind behind this necklace?
My work in general, I find different found objects to create devices that manipulate the body to transform them into something different. Another important aspect about my work is the mark that is left after these pieces are worn. So then the mark becomes a secondary form of decoration. Throughout all cultures, there's lots of people who use decoration as sort of expression, or as a way to attract, like Alex. And I'm trying to do, in a sense, like a double purpose, not just the actual object, but then the decoration on the skin.
And let's look at your piece here that's on the table. And tell us about that. Does it have a name?
Yeah, this is Subjectivity Objectivity Garter 4. I wanted to explore a new, different part of the body. I've been making collars for a while, so I wanted to start incorporating these found objects with the leg, and with the male object, the utility razor, and
So that's what.
yes.
Tell us about what this is made of now.
It's utility razors, and it's in the female object of a garter. The clasp is based off of the male watch clasp.
Can we see how it
Yeah,
does it?
I can undo it here.
So it screws. So you're really taking a sort of male associated object and using it to create something that's associated with females.
Yes. And so, very similar to the large clasp, that it opens up the circumference of the shape, and then it ends up going in on itself, and then is clasped by the pin.
Fascinating. And is there a different sort of theme, or similar kind of theme?
This is it is a little bit of a different type of theme. This is more of a public display of manipulating the body, where this is more of a private manner. This piece inspired. I've got six garters that I've made, all from different types of industrial objects. I've made different garters from circular saws, and I have a mini version of this that's tiny little mini razor blades.
Are there more garters to come? You've got 6. Is that
Maybe,
it for garters?
possibly.
Or, yeah.
It all started from when a friend of mine gave me a chainsaw chain, and I was inspired by, the look of the actual, the decorative look of the blades.
Great, fascinating. Joe, let's look at what you have here on the table. Now, you mentioned the name of the material that you used earlier. Until I met you, I'd never heard of this, neoprene. So why don't you start by telling us about the material that you use in your work and why, and how did you discover this material?
Well, the most common association I think that people can relate to the material is in a wetsuit. Usually in wetsuits or hip waders, it's sandwiched by pieces of fabric, and that's what people wear when they're out in cold water. But my introduction to it is a lot different. My summer job is I'm an excavation worker, and one particular job, these large rolls of neoprene were supposed to be used for a gasket, but it was determined by the on-site inspector that they were unnecessary. And so I looked at them and thought, well, why throw these away? I can use them for something. I didn't know what. But I was fascinated by the material and the possible applications of it. I didn't see an object, I saw potential in the material. And so I just took it with me, and I actually held on to those rolls of material for almost 2 years before I started making anything from it. It all starts out as a sheet.
A flat sheet,
a flat perfectly flat sheet. In this case, 3/8 of an inch thick. Unfortunately, I forgot to bring the example that I thought I was going to bring. So we'll look here, and what I've done is I've manipulated it from a metalsmith's perspective, treating it as a sheet metal that couldn't be soldered, which is generally the way that it gets fabricated. Most of these objects are created by rulers cutting rudimentary geometry in mathematics, and there's a basic form that I've been revolving around, but I'm hoping to expand upon in the near future. And so these 3 pieces right here are all based on that form.
Could we see how this actually goes on your...
Sure.
It goes on your wrist?
Sure. Just as simple as that.
And do you actually wear them? Do you wear them?
I do. I mean, it's difficult to accessorize with every outfit, but I try and wear them as often as possible. The reactions I get are pretty amazing. So they come, when I make them, they have a fixed aperture, which most people, when they see that off the body, they don't recognize it as a wearable object. And then when they see someone wearing it, they associate the 2 different positions of the object, and then they think, oh, well, that's really neat. So, and that's a result of just the natural properties of the material, just the way the material works with itself and with the body.
A lot more flexible than metal, I guess.
Yes.
Inside.
Yes.
Could we see the other one?
Sure.
Can't even imagine how that goes on.
This is, we'll just do one at a time here. Same principle. And this one I like is reversible, depending on how you're going to wear it. Of course, sitting down, it doesn't make that much of an impression, but walking around, it definitely makes a big impression, whether it's worn one way or the other.
Does it have a name? Is there a title for this?
No, there's not really specific titles. I'm not nearly as creative with my titles as these 2 over here. But because I'm dealing with a similar bracelet form, I've just referred to them as bracelet X. So this one here, when it was whole, I refer to as a whole bracelet because there's not any manipulation done to it. This one here I refer to as a hold bracelet. And then this one here, oddly enough, I refer to as a noodle bracelet. And I've had to develop my own vocabulary about the different components. So it's clear to me what I'm talking about when I'm relating that to Keith, our instructor, and whatnot. And so these long pieces that just don't attach to anything I've referred to as noodles because that's what they reminded me of initially.
Now, it seems like one of the things that you're saying here is that artists are, to some degree, problem solvers. Is that right? I mean, we all think of mathematicians and engineers as problem solvers, but we don't often think of artists as problem solvers. But like the physicist or the engineer, you're really solving problems here about space, about flexibility,
Yes.
form. Is that how you think of what you're doing? Is that true?
The design and how the materials look together, how they're spaced. Definitely, yeah.
How the materials interact with the body and, wearable object versus, unwearable object, functional versus non-functional.
How the material relates to a concept that you're trying to express. Definitely.
In your case, literally a
Direct result
you
of how do I
couldn't do
make
things
this.
with metal. Is that
Pardon?
you couldn't do things with metal that you wanted to do? Is that
Correct, yeah. The forms here are a direct result of how do I make this material appealing. I mean, number one problem right there. How do I make this material wearable and aesthetically pleasing?
And are you, as students, are you given problems, or do you create your problems? I mean, do you define your own problems, I should say? I mean, how are you given a problem to solve as a student, or how does that work?
A little bit of both. For undergraduate students, there's a lot more problems given to the students to kind of familiarize the students with that process of recognize a problem and addressing it. But there's another component to that, in that a student who has a problem that they want to solve, they'll come to their instructor, come to Keith and say, I want to do this, and he'll listen to them patiently and understand all the facets that they've considered, and then completely turn it on its head, play devil's advocate, and give them a whole new set of problems to consider.
What's going to happen after graduation? What are your plans?
Looking into residencies, artist residencies, or start scoping out teaching positions, possibly.
Is a residency something that would be a year long or more?
They vary, to a few months to a couple years, yeah.
Good, Chaney?
This summer I'll be teaching beginning metalsmithing, and then in the fall I'll be Keith's temporary sabbatical replacement. So I'll be running the jewelry department for the following year.
Teaching here at Central.
Yes.
Good. And Joe?
After graduation, actually a little before graduation, I'm heading to Italy for a summer study abroad event. And when I come back, hopefully I'm going to start up a production line and work on some more one-of pieces in the same neoprene material. Pursue the professional artist vein, probably also residencies, whatever comes my way, really. I'm pretty open-minded to any opportunity.
Excellent. I think we only have a couple minutes left. Any quick advice for people out there that want to be artists, practicing artists?
Work hard. Work very, very hard.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to experiment with multiple mediums, and even if it's something that you don't feel that you may be interested in at first, because you may be surprised.
Yeah, definitely push yourself.
Push yourself. Work hard. Now, two of you have mentioned the Elizabethan rough. That you've patterned your work after. Now, I'm an historian. I happen to be a British historian, although not as far back as Elizabethan times. But so, do artists need to know about all these other disciplines in order to do their work?
I think artists can draw on virtually any experience they have in their life. It just depends on how they're willing to look at things. So, short answer, yes.
Yeah, and a historical background sometimes just makes the piece accessible, or gives it a new meaning too.
A new meaning.
Yeah.
In your case, agricultural studies might have. Well, we're just about out of time. I want to congratulate all of you. Wish you all the very
Thank
best
you.
with your after graduation plans, and thank you for being here. And thank you for tuning in to Arts and Humanities Are Central. We'll see you next time.